everyone, I hope you're all really well. So it's another first impressions video today of a foundation. I kind of feel like I just keep wanting to try them until I just find one that I completely fall in love with, even though there are a couple that I do actually really like. I can't help myself. I just keep thinking, ooh, maybe, yeah, let's give that a go. Maybe, yeah. I noticed that Superdrug had 3 for 2 across all their cosmetics, and well, so without further ado, we do actually have a drugstore foundation to try today. Yay! Because I just feel like everything I've tried has kind of been more higher end, and you know, there are some really good drugstore foundations out there now, even though they seem to be like really creeping up in price now. I can't believe how expensive some of them are. The one I've got to test today is this one from L'Oreal. It's their Infallible 24-hour matte in the shade 11, which is vanilla. I actually went and swatched a load of foundations in my nearest Superdrug, which is a smaller one because it's not a very big town, but it's, you know, the best makeup selection quite close to me right now. And I just covered all of my hand and like part way up my arm, and if you follow me on Instagram you probably saw the picture that I posted on there because it was so funny. I just had so much of it all over me and I didn't have any way of wiping it all off, and I couldn't believe how many yellow toned shades there were. I really wanted to try the Bourjois Air Matte, is it? Something like that. I can't remember what the name of it was. And the two lightest shades looked really yellow and it just terrified me, so I didn't actually pick that one up. So yeah, this is one of the 3 I picked up. The other one I got was Revlon's 24-hour colour stay, because I've heard really good things about that, and L'Oreal True Match. I can't remember. So I've got 3 different foundations to try. Yeah, I know that's a bit crazy, but like I said, 3 for 2 was on, couldn't help myself. So anyway, what this promises is L'Oreal Paris reckon they've found and developed a new matte finish, a lightweight, non-cakey 24-hour matte perfection. Now, I don't know who would actually want to wear their makeup for 24 hours. Does anyone actually do that? Because, yeah, we won't be testing it for 24 hours. I quite like on the back of this packaging, and I saw this on a few of their different things, you've got the texture and coverage, so you can quite easily tell what it's going to be like. So you've got texture air, light, medium and heavy, this is classed as medium, and coverage low, medium, high, this is classed as high, and then finish down the bottom, matte satin illuminated, and this is matte. So I quite like the idea of that. It says, pro tip, smooth onto skin in circular motions for flawless looking coverage. You get 35ml in here, which is quite a nice amount. Usually foundations around the 30ml mark. And I quite like the packaging for this because it's really slim and it doesn't take up a lot of room. It just fits quite nicely into your makeup bag. So far I'm quite liking this. When I swatched this in store, I think a vanilla is probably going to be okay for me. I think there was one shade lighter than this. I can't remember what it was called. Maybe it was like porcelain or ivory, because that's usually what that shade's called. But yeah, that just seemed a little bit too pale, so I've gone for vanilla. I've gone to the trouble of taking all of the cellophane off already because we would have been here forever. Right, so let's see what it looks like. Okay, so it's on the runnier side of things. I mean, even this looks quite pale actually. But that's what it looks like. It reminded me in colour of my Estee Lauder Double Wear Light. I wear mine in the shade Intensity 1. So yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, so I thought, let's go with that. I didn't even bother trying to swatch it on my face. With foundation nowadays, a little bit really does go a long way, and I think that's why I ended up with tons of it all up my arm, because I was just running out of room, and next time I really need to take some wipes with me just so that I can not have that situation again. Just been blending that in with my finger and it's really soft and smooth actually. That feels lovely. Looking forward to trying that. Just take my glasses off. We'll move you in a little bit. So in terms of stuff going on my face, it's nothing particularly interesting, which is good, I suppose. Usual pigmentation issues across my forehead. I've got quite a few kind of hyperpigmentation issues. Don't actually have any active breakouts, which is amazing. And just usually my horrible chin area, which is the hardest bit on my entire face to cover. That's why I think I continue to look for the perfect foundation. Just talking about it on the back of my hand, that's all blended in. It feels lovely. That is so smooth and gorgeous. If it does that for my face, I'm going to be well happy. Just going to pin my hair back. I'm having a bit of a hair problem at the moment. I don't know if it's the weather or what. My hair just seems to be fluffy no matter what I do with it, what I use in it, what styling products I use. It's just giving me a lot of trouble at the moment. So if anyone's got any curly hair care, more sort of styling products to hold a curl and stop the fluffiness, please let me know, because I just, yeah. Anyway, my skin is freshly washed and moisturised. I moisturised a little while ago, so that's hopefully all sunken in now and it's feeling smooth and ready to go. I generally don't use primer in my foundation videos unless it isn't a first impressions, you know, if it's one I'm trying again. So let's chuck this on my face. I have got my trusty Zoeva 104, which I mentioned a little while back is already stained because this part of the brush is so pale. I'm actually quite tempted to get the rose gold one because the bristles are dark and then nothing will stain. Is that ridiculous? And I've also got my beauty blender as well because I'm not quite sure how I want to apply this just yet. So I think I'm going to pop some on the back of my hands. Don't know how much to use. We'll go with that much. It's not amazingly creamy, it's definitely more on the runny end of things, and the texture of it really does remind me of Estee Lauder Double Wear Lights. I don't know why, just really similar. I think we're going to go with the brush first. And I'll just dab this around. Okay, so that is one layer done. It did seem to blend really nicely and it feels very lightweight, so that's nice. What was the texture described as again? Medium. You've got air, light, medium and heavy. I mean, I'll definitely say that it's nice and lightweight. I think you can see a difference in terms of how everything is nicely evened out. In terms of coverage for one layer, it's not too bad. I feel like my chin area could do with a little bit more help. And some of my hyperpigmentation is still peeking through. But I think what I'll do is I'll do the other side of my face with the beauty blender and then I'll see how things are looking and maybe we'll try putting some more on. Got quite a lot of redness on my chin area at the moment because my skin is quite agitated. So it'll be interesting to see what it does with that. Okay, let's get bopping. Okay, so that's the rest of my face done. I don't think there's a massive difference in application method between the brush or the sponge. I think it blends really nicely with either. In terms of coverage, it may actually be slightly better coverage with the sponge, just purely because I think you're pushing it in there more, whereas with the brush you're obviously moving it around a bit more. And although traditionally I think people think that with a damp sponge you're going to shear the coverage out, and sometimes that can be the case. I think other times you can actually end up getting a bit more coverage just purely because of the motion of patting it into the skin. I've only just put this on and this already feels baby silky smooth gorgeousness. If anything, the beauty blender side feels drier and smoother. It feels really nice, it's very comfortable. Considering this is a drugstore foundation, I can't remember exactly what the price point was, but I'm thinking it was probably around the £10 mark. I have tried higher end products that are multiples of £10 that feel much worse than this. This is very comfortable. If it wears really well throughout the day, I'm going to be very happy and quite impressed. I'm intrigued to see if it will build up on itself at all very well, because I still have a few things peeking through, and I'm pretty sure it was, yeah. Oh, it's not classing it as full coverage. The only options are low, medium and high. So I would say that, you know, it probably is high coverage. It has knocked a lot out, but let's just see if this will build up at all. I'm just hoping it doesn't go too cakey because of how much it's dried down. I mean, they did say that they developed a formula where it wasn't going to do that, but we will see. I think you need to work with this quite quickly because of how fast it dries down. Just going to like stipple and pat just to see if that makes any difference to how it goes on. Okay, that coverage is definitely built up a lot more on the chin area. It's not looking too dry at the moment, but I am concerned about how dry it's going to look later. Just quickly grab the beauty blender. I think it is going on a bit better with the beauty blender. I think this is potentially prone to drying your skin, and with the added extra moisture that you're getting from the damp beauty blender, I think it's just helping it to go on a bit better. I'm glad I went for this shade. I think the next shade would have definitely been too light. See, I forgot I'd wiped some on my nose, and in the time it took me to do my chin, it had dried, and it wasn't impossible to blend, but it's just something to be conscious of, that you do have to move quite quickly. I have quite sensitive skin as well, and this isn't feeling horrible at all. It's not feeling heavy or uncomfortable. It doesn't really feel like I'm wearing anything at the moment, which is nice because I feel like I've put quite a lot on. I'm going to work quite quickly to finish off because it is quite warm and this is drying fast. I know the directions said to use circular motions, but I generally prefer to go a bit off-piste with advice anyway. I just like to find my own way to apply stuff. Right, I think I am done. What do we think? It has blended lovely, and like I said, it just feels really nice. It's very smooth. It's got that baby soft feeling that I described when it had dried down on the back of my hand. It feels like if I put anything on top of this, particularly powder products, are going to blend beautifully. I'm not going to put a setting powder on this, primarily because I want to test it on its own, so the same reason why I don't like to use a primer, but I don't feel like it actually needs one anywhere. I don't feel like I'm shiny at all, so I'm worried it might look a bit flat and lifeless. We shall see. I'm going to pop the rest of my makeup on and I will be back in a second. Okay, so that's the rest of my makeup done. It does feel like it's going to be quite a drying foundation formula, and the bit that I had on the back of my hand from when I was applying it on my face is going nowhere. I've washed my hands twice and it's not come off. So if you're into like ridiculously long-lasting foundation for oily skin, this could well be it, but it is kind of caking and going a bit funny on my hand. So I'll be very interested to see how this wears, because already it's feeling a little bit drying. So anyway, I will see you again later. Hi everyone, so this is probably going to be quite a quick check-in because it is that time of the day that if you have a toddler, everything just goes a little bit. Anyway, final impressions of this foundation. I'm just going to take my glass... Oh, actually no, I won't take my glasses off just yet because I want to zoom you in a bit first. I just had a look in a much bigger mirror and I really scrutinised my face before I did the checking because I just wanted to really see how it was sitting. And I think there are pros and cons to this foundation. So we'll start with the pros. When I first put it on, it did feel like baby bum, soft, smooth, gorgeous. It was like I'd set my face with a powder even though I hadn't, and it wasn't in that kind of powdery finish foundation way that I'm familiar with. It was actually, it felt nice, so that was lovely. As the day has gone on, some of my natural oils have come through, but it's controlled oil really well. Like, compared to a lot of foundations I've tried recently, mainly high-end, this is definitely controlled oil, probably the best out of the lot. I don't feel too shiny at all, and I still feel pretty matte to the touch, ever so slightly oily, but there's no real shine to talk about at all. So Really good. Let's just zoom you in a little bit and I can talk you through some of the more negative points. Because of the fact that it is a very matte foundation, it does cling to any dry areas you've got, which, to be fair, I don't have that many, but I noticed that around my chin area it had dried a bit. I also must have rubbed my nose at some point today, because I don't know if this is going to show up at all, but it's really worn funny on one side of my nose, so that is something to be conscious of when you're using it. Unlike other foundations that I've used where perhaps you've done that and it's worn off a little bit more gracefully, this has just worn off in a chunk and it looks really silly, and I didn't realise that until I really looked in the mirror a minute ago. If I take my glasses off, hopefully you'll be able to see this. Where my glasses have been resting, the foundation has gathered underneath, so that doesn't look particularly lovely. It has settled in pores a bit, but it's not too bad. I've had this foundation on for about 10 hours, so you shouldn't be able to see any shine whatsoever because I am not shiny at all. Like I said, if you do have any dry areas, it will cling to them, but I think using a beauty blender with that little bit of dampness will help with that. So I think all in all, I mean, it feels like I've not really got anything on my skin at all. It actually feels really nice. So I'm hoping you were able to see some of the issues that I've had with this foundation, but I kind of have to keep reminding myself that at the end of the day, this is a drugstore cheap foundation. I think it's actually performed really well in comparison to some much more expensive foundations that I've tried recently. So I think as long as you're willing to give it a bit of a punt and you are aware of some of the issues that you might encounter, I think actually it's a really good, long-wearing, really controls oil very well, blendable foundation that you won't need a setting powder for. I think if you used a setting powder it would cake way too much. I'll be interested to see how a primer will go underneath this, because I don't like using a primer for a first impressions video, but if my first impressions have been like, okay, yes, it's not bad, let's see how a primer might enhance it, then I will give it a go. So I will try that and I'll let you know how that goes. But all in all, it's pretty impressive. It's not to the point where I'm like, oh, I never want to touch that again, but I think there's just a few issues that I want to be careful with the next time. But that being said, that bit on my nose that has gathered, I've literally just really gently wiped that away and it's just disappeared. It's not moved too much of the product. It feels really satiny smooth. You know, the more I talk about this foundation, the more I'm quite liking it. I think from a first impressions point of view, I have to give it a thumbs up. I think it's pretty impressive. I've got another 2 drugstore ones to try out, but so far, I'm pretty pleased I chose this one, and the fact that you get a little bit extra, you know, you get 35ml instead of 30, I think it's really good value for money. That is the end of my first impressions video. I hope you found this helpful, and the fact that I've included some more sort of budget-friendly foundations for you to try. I hope everyone is really well, and I will see you again soon. Bye! That's why I got another one to test it, because oh my gosh, I love this. I've been using it every day with various different foundations on top, and it is just dreamy gorgeous. I've not had to use a primer. Yeah, we're potentially talking holy grail status here for a moisturiser. I know.